body. But the wrong baby had become the right child. Her boy, charming, uncomplicated, happy, so loving, had grown up to be a brave, funny, handsome, kind young man. And now, a few words in a letter, a chalk-faced husband, an awful falling and flailing in her mind. Dennis had returned to finish his surgery. What else could he do with patients waiting? And then there was lunch. That they sat down at the table as if everything was normal struck her as incredible. Outrageous. And he'd been dead for 3 months. They sat in their usual places and picked at some sort of ersatz cutlets brought in by a pink-eyed Linda, who stammered her condolences. Linda had known Edgar since he was a baby. Her own son Alan served in North Africa and was home now, not undamaged, but making the best of it. Alive. Clem stared numbly at the unidentified meat, the grey puddle of gravy. Dennis was eating, though not with his usual vigour. The revulsion she felt at the sounds of his mastication almost overwhelmed her grief. But the grief had not properly yet arrived. This was still shock. But shock? Really? After all, it was war. This outcome had never been unlikely. When, 4 years ago, the telegram had arrived telling them that he'd been taken prisoner in Singapore, Clem had actually been relieved. He wouldn't be fighting now, at least. He'd be safe in a prison camp. Such had been her naivety. Revulsion, she felt, over the cutlets, her husband's chewing. Embarrassment at the paucity of their marriage. The news had come and they'd sat down to lunch. They didn't speak except for pass this or pass that. Several times Dennis cleared his throat. Once he'd finished his bottled strawberries, picked from the garden in the innocence of the summer when Edgar might still have been alive. He pushed back his chair and stood, dabbed his lips with a napkin and came to stand behind her. The weight of his hand arrived on her shoulder. "I say," he began, but in fact said nothing more. Paused for a moment, cleared his throat again, left the room. Clem pushed away her untouched dish. The fruit was too red, too sore. 3 months.
Part 1. Guard your tongue. You are free now. Anything you say in public or to the press is liable to be published throughout the whole world. You have direct or indirect knowledge of the fate of many of your comrades, who died in enemy hands as a result of brutality or neglect. Your story, if published in the more sensational press, would cause much unnecessary unhappiness to relatives and friends. It is felt certain that now you know the reason for this order, you will take pains to spare the feelings of others. Extracted from typed order from RAPWI, Recovery of Allied Prisoners of War and Internees. 1. Starling, November 1945. The door knockers are knocking fist, or it's meant to be, but it makes him think of a punch in the gob. Should he knock? Instead, he turns the handle. The door opens straight into the living room, and there's a clench in his vitals at the soupy, doggy smell of home. Mum grabs him, her hug violent. "Lenny, Lenny, Lenny." Scapulars frail under his hands. He scans the room. Has it always been so cramped? Stuffed with furniture, armchairs draped in crochet, round table with its layers of tablecloth, chairs crammed under. On the mantel, herds and packs and flocks of tiny glass beasts. It's been years.